In the overview, we saw how the keyer can be used in the traditional secondary color correction kind of way of changing the color of something in a shot. And we really dug in deep and showed you how the keyer can be used to get a really fine-tuned result on a tricky shot that was shot, with an 8-bit compressed source. I wanted to just show you how in some cases that look like they might be really tricky, the keyer can actually be so fast that you'll find yourself using it without even thinking. This is an interesting shot, two girls looking out over what appears to be a river or a lake or something like that, and the water is this kind of funky greenish color, whereas the sky is this beautiful blue. It occurred to me looking at this shot that you might wish that the water wasn't this kind of murky green, but that green is really similar to the colors of a lot of the trees up here. I'm just going to apply Colorista to this shot, go into secondary, cop into the keyer, do a little marquee selection, grab the plus tool, grab the spots that I missed here in the center, soften it up a little bit. Okay, and now I'm just going to push the highlights of secondary towards blue. Not only have I changed the water from green to blue, but I've actually preserved, I don't know if you can see this, some of the reflections of the green trees in the blue water. And that just gives you a sense of how we've tuned the keyer to produce really good results really quickly. I want you using this keyer all the time. I never want you to have to sit and ponder about whether or not it's worth it to try to fix something in a shot. The keyer is precise enough and gives you the tools to go crazy, but it can also just be used really with 2 or 3 clicks to achieve something incredibly useful. And that's more often than not what we find ourselves doing in secondary color corrections, is not trying to re-art direct a scene by completely changing the color of somebody's wardrobe, but really just doing these kinds of highly specific adjustments that are kind of subtle ways of tweaking the look of a shot. The other interesting thing about the keyer, of course, is that it works in conjunction with the power mask. So if we did have a problem with this shot where we were not able to, for instance, let's just pretend like we weren't able to prevent the trees from becoming a part of the key. So if we scrubbed a little more, oops, I accidentally got some of the trees in there. Don't want to be turning the trees blue. You can use the keyer in conjunction with the power mask. So you see here now I'm just driving around a little window, and only inside this window is where I am doing the key. So again, with a really simple adjustment, I've moderated where the key effect is happening. I can do a more pronounced version of the effect here so you can see the results. So the interesting thing about that is that there are fun and cool ways that you can combine these effects. So, for example, just go to another shot here. Here's a shot of Eric coming around the corner, looking intense. Let's just fit that in so we see the whole thing. All right, so there's Eric looking intense. Now, this shot was shot kind of without any real lighting. And I had an interesting insight into this shot. I'll show you, it's kind of cool. First, I'll just do a quickie color correction on it. So I'm just going to hop into master, add my usual contrast, do a little bit of kind of a mojo look, cool off the shadows, warm up the highlights. My apologies to people who feel like this look is overused, but you know what? It works. It really works on this shot. But, the shot kind of lacks mystery and intrigue for him looking so furtive. What I'd really like to do is vignette it, but check this out. This is going to be really fun. So I'm going to take my good old ellipse and invert it, bring down the mids and even the highlights, and just tweak out my usual kind of off-kilter funky vignette. Keep it up on his face like this. Now I've got a slightly more mysterious version of my shot, which I kind of dig. I'm just going to crank up the feather a little bit on that. All right, cool. Now watch as Eric back here comes into the shot. He's in the dark part of the shot. And, you know, this all works really well if I want to keep Eric's face in the center of the vignette, but what if I kind of want Eric to be popping out of the shot a little bit and appear to have been lit even when he's back here as he's entering into the shot? Well, what I can do is I can use the keyer in a different way in conjunction with the mask. So what we had done before on the river shot is what's called key and power mask. So you're using the key and the power mask together. But there are other modes here. You have key only, power mask only, key minus power mask, mask minus key, and power mask plus key. What we're going to use on this shot is, what we want to do is we want to cut a hole in our power mask using our key. And so that's going to be power mask minus key. So power mask minus key, and now I need to actually get in and do the work of the key. It starts off with a pretty decent key, you know, on his skin tones, but we can make it better. We'll just do a little marquee select, and then just plus him out a little bit here. Now we are going to get some of the background because the background is kind of a similar color to him, but that's going to actually be okay. I just want to kind of get the highlight side of Eric, so I don't need a ton of this. I'll try to get rid of that pillar a little bit. Yeah, it's not bad. And then what I'm just going to do is, to get rid of the rest, I'm going to soften and choke. So I'm going to clip in on both sides. Soften just enough to kind of get rid of that. Now what you'll see is that I have actually protected Eric from being included in the vignette. So Eric's face is exempt from the vignette, and you can see this if you just start moving the vignette around. Eric's face stays bright, and if you let it go crazy like this, you can see the effect and it looks fake. But when it's right on the boundary of the vignette, it gives kind of a cool look. It almost looks like he's lit, and it even works really well. Let's you know, the cool thing is too, you can always see that effect here in this window. So as you're working on the key, you can always see the effect that you're the cumulative effect of all of your corrections. So let's just dial that in. We're definitely doing some subtle adjustments here, but you'd never have thought that Eric was such a similar color to a pillar. All right, so look at that. There he is coming into the shot looking like he's lit. Now, I'm getting a little twinkling on that pillar, and because of my policy of not giving you a fake demo, I'm gonna fix it. Alright. So what I need to do probably to keep that pillar noise out of here is just soften a little more so that my choke can be a little more aggressive. Alright, good. So now I've got Eric running in. Now here's the interesting thing about this. This is really working. I really dig this effect. I'm going to go into master and just, I'm going to even push my cooling effect a little bit more now that I feel like it's working. Yeah, I like this. This is looking cool. Take a little saturation out of this. Alright, but unfortunately, this brick building in the background is the same color as Eric, and I wasn't able to keep that out of my key. I don't know if you noticed that. Let's go back into the key. But yeah, the bricks came along for the ride. They're just exactly the same color as him. There's no way I can get them. So, and you know, I'm using my power mask and not to control the key, but actually I'm using the key to cut a hole in the power mask, so I can't use the power mask to slice this off. But luckily, we've got another power mask. So if you go down to master, there's a second power mask, and I'm going to turn on rectangular, and the default setting is not designed to do what I want, but I'll fix that in just a sec. So I'm going to bring it over here, and I'm going to go through my modes here. With the master power mask, you have a few different modes. You can restrict just the master effect, which in this case would be like the curves and the look and everything. I don't want to do that. That's not going to help. I can restrict the secondary. Again, that's not what I want to do here. That would just provide a window where only inside the power mask is the secondary allowed to work. That's the opposite of what I'm trying to do. I can join secondary. It becomes another mask like the secondary mask, which in this case is being used to create the vignette effect. Again, don't want to do that because it now is subject to the same rules as the secondary, which is that the key is going to cut a hole in it. So the last choice is add to secondary. And in this one, I'm just adding my mat on top of the secondary mat. And not only can I use that to reintroduce the original brick building there, but I can also use it to fix a problem with the shot, which is that back here, Eric is too well lit when he's back here in this corner. So check this out. This will be interesting. I'm going to actually invert this effect, put it in the middle, squeeze it over like this, and kind of rotate it a little bit. So now Eric, there's a dark spot here that Eric has to come out of. Let's just squeeze it over here. Okay, so now Eric has to come out of the dark spot, which is the blue line. Now he comes into the lighting effect. Now he's in the lighting effect, and he's doing his thing, and I'm still maintaining my original brick building. So let's look at the shot before and after. Here it is before, and here it is after. And let's look as he's coming into the shot here. Before and after, pretty dramatic difference, pretty compelling kind of relighting of a shot that was just grabbed in an offhand kind of way with available light turned into something that's actually lit, and has a feeling of really being cinematography instead of just grabbing a camera and going. There's one other use for this that I think you might use even more than this one. This is kind of a special case, but this kind of vignette with a hole cut in it is certainly a cool discovery, kind of fun. Maybe not something you're going to do all the time, but here's one you might do a lot. This is a kind of interesting situation, a shot where someone had to make a decision about exposure. Did they want to completely let the windows blow out in favor of the foreground subject matter, or did they want to preserve some detail back there? This person chose to preserve a little detail in the background, and as a result, the foreground is almost too murky to see. So I'm going to just hop into secondary here and just do kind of the traditional fix to that, which would be to put a little soft vignette over her face here, and maybe increase the exposure. And obviously I can do that, maybe make it a little softer, feather, increase the feather here. And that's flashing up the blacks a little bit, so I'm going to go into shadow here and just crush them back down, make it a little more sort of believably high contrast. That has the effect of increasing saturation, so I'm just going to back off on saturation just a little bit. Okay, so here is brightening up her face, but the effect is obvious because of the way that it contaminates the background. So I'm going to go into the key and just do a quickie key for this background behind her, and you can see I can select it pretty well, but you can see in doing so the hue is going crazy, trying to select a whole bunch of different hues because there's blue window, orangish bricks back there. The truth is that hue really has nothing to do with the key that I'm trying to do here, so I'm going to actually shut it off. I'm going to turn off hue, and I'm going to turn off saturation. I'm going to just do a purely lightness based key. So now you see that the only key control that I have is this feathered box here on this lightness scope. And I could do these adjustments on the cube by adjusting here, but you can see it's a little easier in this case with the box. So I'm just going to try to isolate only the brightest stuff back there and grab just as much of it as I can without grabbing a ton of foreground there. Still have some holes in it, so I'm going to do my choke trick, which is to increase the softness and then clip. Now we won't really know how well this works until we try. Obviously it's doing the wrong thing by default here. We want to do power mask minus key again. So this is power mask minus key. So now you'll see she's got a little glowy edge, which we'll fix, but Now you see I've got a spotlight that I can move around that will only affect the foreground, and she's got a soft edge. So let's get in and just tweak that a little bit. So maybe the softness is a little too much. I need enough to choke, so I'm going to come in. Actually, I'm going to come in a little more aggressively this way. All right, so that's pretty good. I want to keep this soft-ish. You know, I don't want to go crazy with it, but and now maybe I can increase the exposure just a little bit. Okay, so here it was without my little spotlight. Now this becomes a really cool effect because it really is like I'm relighting the shot. I'm moving a light around on her that isn't affecting the background. And now, of course, don't we wish that her friend could also have the similar treatment? Well, it just so happens that I have got my second power mask. So I'll turn that on, ellipse, and I'm going to turn it to join secondary. And what that means is it's basically like just you have another secondary power mask that does exactly what the first one does. So they work together and follow the same rules. So now I've got relighting effects for two people in the shot that, using a keyer, ignore the background. So here is turn off those overlays. Here's a shot before. Here's a shot after. So that shows you a little bit about creative and kind of power user tools with the keyer, using the keyer to do not so obvious things, and how the keyer can work in really powerful ways in conjunction with both of the power masks inside of Colorista II.